NewsX, my name is Vineet. The top Russian general accused of using chemical weapons in the battlefield in Ukraine has been killed. General Igor Kirillov was killed in a bomb blast outside his house in Moscow. Visuals showed that the bomb was planted on a scooter and it exploded as soon as the general and his assistant left the building. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was heading Russia's Radiological, Biological and Chemical Protection Force and was sentenced by Ukrainian prosecutors for the use of banned chemical weapons just a day before this attack took place. AFP has confirmed from a source in Ukraine that they have taken responsibility for this killing. This assassination is the latest escalation that began after Biden's nod for the use of long-range ballistic missiles for Ukraine. So what will be Russia's next response? What if such an assassination had happened on the soil of the United States? Would the reaction not have been extreme? Who is responsible for pushing the world on the brink of a nuclear escalation? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor, former diplomat. Major General Shashi Asthana, defense expert, also with us on the show. Major General Sudhakar G, defense expert, also joins us on the program. Group Captain MJ Augustine Vinod, former fighter pilot, is with us on the program as well. General Asthana, I'll begin with you. Well, Biden is not being hailed as somebody who has shown prudence at a time when the war between Russia and Ukraine is at a very volatile stage. He has in fact unleashed a side of Vladimir Putin that perhaps the world did not want to see. But this latest bid to provoke and instigate Russia might just be the last nail in the coffin that this escalation needed. What are your thoughts on what's happening here? Because now it seems that, despite being an all-out war, this is also turning out to be a decoy war of sorts as well.
Certainly, there is the war is expanding into various dimensions, and assassination and sabotage is also one part or one dimension of it. Secondly, as far as your escalation, the point which you mentioned, Joe Biden wanted escalation to take place in a manner that whatever President Trump has promised, he gets entrapped in the escalation cycle and cannot deliver what he had promised earlier, that is bringing peace or bringing the war to an end on the first day. Now, first day may be a little too ambitious, but then the fact is Joe Biden is not, President Trump is not in a mood to carry the liability of this war on his shoulders. As far as the present incident is concerned, Ukrainian intelligence and assassination squads have been operating in Russia very often, and this is not the first one. I was, in fact, last week throughout I was in Moscow, and I must tell you that there have been many attempts and many terrorist attempts as well as many attempts of sabotage, and they have been able to nullify a lot of them, but some do go through, and this happens to be one of them, certainly. This is the most senior officer who has been killed. I think before that, no assassination has been of such a senior rank. There has been one or two naval officers earlier, but not a rank of or a responsibility which he holds. That is the radiological, chemical and biological protection. He was in charge of that, although he is not the one who deals with the offensive use of nuclear weapons, but otherwise he has been a strong figure and a very famous figure in a manner that he is also the architect of the thermobaric ammunition TOS-2, which is a very important and potent weapon. And it seems to be a planned event for the simple reason because a day earlier they accused him for using the tear gas and some of the riot control measures which are banned under the Chemical Warfare Convention. So apparently there was a plan, so there was an accusation, and after that accusation they conducted this, and thereafter they owned it up as well. So apparently the intention is that front lines in Ukraine are crumbling. They need to build the morale of their troops as well as the population, and a high profile killing like that can perhaps boost some morale of the Ukrainian people. So that seems to have been intention. As far as the reactions are concerned, I'm sure the Russians will react. The reaction may not be exactly in the same domain. It may be in a different domain, but there will be a reaction. As far as the internal matters are concerned, Moscow will certainly look at what is happening inside in a manner that they have passed a foreign agent law as well to make sure that for a crackdown of say, Ukraine sympathizers. They are also into a lot of security measures have been adopted in Moscow as well as in Russia. Also, they are likely to hike up the this aspect of warfare also because there are relatives both sides, Ukrainian as well as Russians. There are Ukrainian relatives of Russians as well as and vice versa. So therefore, availability of agents and collaborators is not a problem, both sides. So apparently, there can be some escalation on this side too, in addition to anything else. I don't expect a nuclear escalation on this issue, but certainly the war is escalating, and so are the dimensions and the instruments being used. Vineet.
All right. Okay. General Sudhakarji, sabotage and assassination is not a good thing when you're talking about a war which is already underway. You know, considering the fact that Joe Biden, before leaving office, you know, has sown the seeds of this discord going to the next level, it perhaps looks to be a light at the end of the tunnel that Donald Trump is going to be in charge in the next few months.
Absolutely. Vinit, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. And I totally endorse what the General Officer, the preceding General Astana, has said. I totally agree with him. 33 days, to be precise, are left for Donald Trump to assume his presidency. These 33 days, every minute, every microsecond will matter. Biden will create chaos, as is evident the way it is unfolding in Syria. Assad is there in Moscow, and things are actually becoming out of control gradually. So similar situations are likely to escalate, as per my assessment. So the basic question that actually, the moot question that we should be answering as per the subject given by you is, how is Russia going to address the issue and how is it going to respond? As per my assessment, I personally feel there are multiple options, but predominantly, there are three options. Either he escalates, or he does nothing, he exercises restraint, or he calibrates the response in a manner that he is able to pass this time of 33 days to achieve the larger goal and the objective of ceasefire. In my opinion, if I was in his place, perhaps I would look at it in a different manner. First and foremost thing is the generalship who has been neutralized by placing an ID on a scooter very close to his house is something that means very senior officials in Russia, including the political hierarchy, have been penetrated and they could be targeted. It's a very dangerous signal which is coming that Putin, is the general officer who is responsible for strategic forces, has been neutralized. So next could be anybody bigger, as big or maybe bigger than him. So first and foremost thing that I will look at is, how do I prevent a recurrence of a similar thing? So therefore, the house has to be put in order. Is the house in order? I don't think so. The general officer has already alluded to the fact that the sabotage and assassination, and there is a hybrid kind of offensive which is already ongoing in the hinterland of Russia. So what does it do? The intelligence has to be rejuvenated in Russia itself, and particularly the hinterland close in and around Moscow, so that these things can be prevented. And number two, I personally feel that the penetration is of such high order that there are molds which have been created in the architecture of the security apparatus of Russia. That has to be actually looked into. The second aspect that comes to my mind is the response matrix. In the response matrix, I personally feel that KGB is now kind of a weakling intelligence agency. It is one of the vibrant, most dynamic, very, very objective and result-oriented. Given time and space, perhaps in a reasonable time frame, they will be able to narrow down, like your channel is already showing, that the agency has been identified. And in that agency, who's the person who's been given order? Like, it is not an overnight operation. There is an operation which is premeditated, which has been planned over a long period of time, and he's been targeted. Maybe they might have missed him once or twice in the past. So therefore, to respond, to neutralize this particular agency, may be leading to an escalation of the military situation, which I don't think will be desirable. But whether Putin will play it that way or not is a matter of his military acumen, which I personally feel restraint in the present circumstances will give him better and larger payoff than carrying out an immediate response matrix to neutralize or to address the threat. Third and last point is that what is it that the Trump administration, which has promised, or the president-elect during the election campaign, his basic aim is to bring all the conflicts as far as possible to an end. And primarily the Ukraine and Russia conflict is going to come to an end. If that has to come to an end, few days back, only 3-4 days back, it is Zelensky. I was surprised to hear his statement that he is prepared to forego 18% of land which is in occupation of Russia for the sake of peace and ceasefire. If these are the kinds of signatures which are emanating, perhaps a wiser decision to be taken by Putin would be to exercise restraint for the time being. But in a spectrum of short term, medium term, and long term, there will be a military man will be ready with a QPQ. That is the quid pro quo. He will be ready to strike at a place, time, and at a circumstance where it is going to give a better leverage and dividend to Russia. Back to you, Vinay.
All right. Well, some important points there. And Group Captain Augustine, how do you perceive this volatile situation? And is the world gearing itself up? Is it on the anvil of a major disturbance as a result of what's happening between Russia and Ukraine? We've already seen world economies suffering because of this war, and the escalation, if it happens, or even if there's a hint or a talk of an escalation, it could send a number of things, a number of standard world orders into a tailspin.
Oh, no question about it, Vineet. In fact, I like calling out your name because my son is named Vineet too. Be that as it may, I am absolutely with both the generals, especially General Astana, who's just returned from Russia. And he'll bear with me when I do show some little bit of digging up that I did and a little bit of reading that I did, non-English journals that have come out and news that have come out. A couple of things we need for the sake of the panel and the viewers is the electric scooter that has been used is made by a company called Kukukrin. The Kukukrin scooters, Vineet and viewers, you can hire from any square in Russia. You have download an app, put in some money, and Kukukrin scooters available right behind me. I put it here if you notice. This is the same scooter which blew up and took out the general and is a staff officer, young general at that. And this is how an unexploded Kukukrin looks, if you can see on my left. You can take it from any square in Russia, anywhere in Moscow. You can pick it up from anywhere in Moscow and drop it anywhere in Moscow. So tracing this traceability becomes a big question because you can pick up a Kukukrin on a burner phone, which is not associated to you digitally or otherwise. So it is going to be a big challenge for someone to put their finger on who did it. Now coming to the question of who did it. The Russian media as well as the non-English media is talking a lot of CIA involvement rather than Ukraine's involvement. So the possibility of CIA being directly involved or through the unknown gunman involvement cannot be ruled out. And if that is so, then I come to the point covered by General Sudhakar. What will happen when you want to extricate from such a situation when Trump has promised he is going to stop it in 24 hours, which of course is not possible. Even 24 days or 24 months, I'll be really surprised. But the point still remains is the Biden administration trying to push Trump into such a swamp that draining that swamp is going to become a big challenge or maybe impossible task for Trump is what I am looking at. Because, mind you, Vineet, the American polity plans for 10, 15 years ahead. They are probably already planning for a democratic return post Trump. And all this is, towards that end is what, my analysis is. But Ukraine, when Russia, you saw what happened to many generals who tried to go against Putin. Putin took punitive measures against them. If anyone thinks that Putin is going to sit tight on Igor's death or this kind of killing in his own backyard, I think they're in for a big surprise. And like you rightly said, they have probably pushed a button which they should not have pushed. And will it take the world to a nuclear war? I don't know. I don't think so. But it will certainly unleash certain, 2.5 or a 3 generation or a 4th generation warfare, which Russia is very good at. KGB is extremely good at. Will it hit the hinterland of USA? We have to watch and see. And Vineet, let me tell you, all these drones that is flying around in US, you must have heard. Is it KGB is doing is the question I want to leave for our viewers and you. So, it is a very, very murky game, this war. I hope this stops and all these murky games stops and the world comes to peace and we all live peacefully ever after. Over to you, Vineet.
Absolutely. Ambassador Kapoor, Putin as well as Zelensky, they both need to step back. Obviously the world is beginning to feel that Zelensky is being extremely adamant. Even if he's, resonating anywhere deep down inside to end the war, it is also coming with a lot of caveats, with a lot of conditions that, okay, I'm ready to even cede territory to Russia as long as you give me the membership of NATO. Donald Trump is anguished. He wants the Americans out of NATO. Joe Biden is helping Ukraine through the NATO to escalate this war. What kind of a issue or sinking sand is this situation trapped in?
Well, as the distinguished speakers and panelists before me have mentioned, this is a very serious escalation. It's a paradigm shift in the sense that one after the other, for example, attacking inside Russia, then giving them long-range missiles to Ukraine to attack, then the Kursk invasion into the territory, then the destruction of the naval ships. So step by step, it has been escalating all through. And then you have the terrorists inside Russia who killed so many people, the downfall of Syria and Assad. So it has been going up the escalatory ladder in a very strongly provocative manner. It is very difficult for any leader like Putin to restrain himself under such circumstances and not unleash all sort of hell on Ukraine in response. But I think currently he, either his own counsel or whoever is advising him, may be telling him that hold on till January 20th, take whatever steps are necessary for you to take to keep situation under control, in the sense of, firing that hypersonic missile. When he did that, some messages would have gone out to the Americans earlier, because they evacuated the US embassy in Kiev. They told all the diplomatic personnel to stay away. So those sort of steps may again happen, or some other steps may happen, which may not be a decision to use tactical nuclear weapons at this stage, because he may lose some sympathy. Whereas the Biden administration, their effort, I guess, is to keep on trying to keep on provoking and escalating the matters to such a state that it becomes more and more difficult for Trump to control it. So it's a very treacherous territory that they are treading on. It is not going to sort of pay off in the long term, either to US or to Ukraine or to Europe, which is evident because even in Europe now, there are dissident voices against continuing this phenomenal support, even from Germany, for Ukraine. And Russia, as we know, even in World War One and World War Two, suffered, some unimaginable and phenomenal losses of manpower and territory for a long time, and they kept on absorbing all those losses for many years till they finally hit back at Hitler and at Napoleon also earlier. So the basic Waterloo, or the graveyards of the biggest fighting forces in the world, which was the Nazis and the Napoleonic army, was in Russia. So similarly for Ukraine, I think it's a very foolhardy venture that they have gone into, letting the Americans particularly and also the Europeans fight their guns from Ukrainian shoulders, and using Ukrainian people as shields and sort of fodder for being killed at random and at will. The Ukrainian country has been totally devastated and depleted, in the sense that they are now, the allies of Ukraine are now expecting Ukraine to call in younger people and older people into the army, draft them into the army, conscript them. A large number of Ukrainians are living in other European countries and elsewhere. So the country land itself, with a large portion of the land, and estimates are maybe 20% or more, under Russian control, a large portion of land leased out to BlackRock and other, economic giants, or whatever you want to call it, from US particularly. So how do the Ukrainians see their own future in such a bleak environment, with Zelensky now saying that he wants NATO membership? I don't think Trump is going to be in favor of that.
All right,
And I don't think Biden has sufficient time to swing it through Europe and through his own people. So for him to surrender that land and then, end up
Right, absolutely,
looking
sir.
like a total
You're
loser.
quite right, but unfortunately, we've also run out of time. But would like to thank everyone who became a part of this conversation. We, in fact, received some important perspective. So, breaking news coming in now. Hyderabad City Police has issued a show cause notice to Sandhya Theatre. It states that there was no proper information from the management of the theatre or actors and their team that they will be visiting the theatre. The management of the theatre has not made any additional provisions regarding security to manage the crowd. There was no separate entry and exit for the actor, and the personnel and the security of the actor started pushing the public. Raj Kiran, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Raj, it's obvious that the theatre itself should be holding responsibility for organizing such an event and exhibiting such mismanagement.
Yes, exactly. Sandhya Theatre management was given show cause notice today. And moreover, the Hyderabad City Police going to approaching the High Court tomorrow, and they will be the High Court tomorrow seeking interim bail cancellation of Pushpa 2 lead actor Allu Arjun in connection with Sandhya Theatre stampede case. And this is the important development in this case. Hyderabad City Police is approaching the High Court, whereas Allu Arjun is on bail. And tomorrow, police department will be the concerned people will be approaching the court. And last Friday, the court has questioned prosecution. If you have like situation is expected, then whether police has asked the theatre management to not invite Pushpa's 2 stars in the theatre. If yes, the court asked the prosecution to provide the notice copy which they have given to the
right.
Sandhya Theatre management. So later, tomorrow, the Hyderabad police will approach the High Court to cancel the Allu Arjun
All
bail.
right.
And latest development in this is CV Anand, Hyderabad CP, has visited the boy who was undergoing treatment in Keems Hospital in Hyderabad, and he has just inquired about the health condition of the boy, how he is doing, and still the doctor said that still the boy is in a
All right,
critical
Raj.
condition.
Appreciate you joining us. We've completely run out of time. We take a short break on that note. Be right back.